So I'm going to try to efficiently use Google Earth to show you some of the effects of logging on Alberta's eastern slopes. Recently, West Fraser just hosted their open house for 2 areas. So this map is all of the forest management agreement areas for Alberta. You can see there's some massive ones in northern Alberta, but what I want to focus us on is these thin ones. In my opinion, this is where logging has the most consequence because this is a thin strip of forested mountains that provides over 90% of southern Alberta's water to the rivers of the Red Deer River flowing through Sundre, Bow River flowing through Calgary, and the Oldman River flowing through Lethbridge. And West Fraser Timber now has the forest management agreements for R, B, and U. One company now has the forest management agreements for U is Sundre Forest Products, which has now been owned by West Fraser for quite some time. And then we have B is Spray Lake Sawmills, was purchased by West Fraser in 2023, and R is Crow's Nest Forest Products, also, well, that was owned by Spray Lake Sawmills and came with that purchase in 2023. So you can see that there's protected areas down south with Waterton and the Castle, and then we have Kananaskis and Banff National Park. So I'm just going to, before I switch to Google Earth, I just want to show you this. So this is really amazing work that CPAWS has done to highlight all the historical and planned clear cuts that we know of in both the Crow's Nest Forest Products Forest Management Agreement down here in the south and the Spray Lake Sawmills Forest Management Agreement up here in the north. So we'll try to work north to south here. So you can see the extensive amount of clear cutting that has happened. Every one of these different shaded squares is a clear cut, but the ones in purple are the most recently completed ones, and we can click on them. This one was clear cut in 2022, and then there are yellow and red. So yellow, let's click on that. Yellow is planned for this winter, and red planned for next winter. So yellow is happening this winter. And I'll go in and we'll use Google time-lapse to have a look at this, and then we'll go down south as we make our way. I'm going to turn on the time-lapse feature of Google Earth here, which shows us satellite imagery from 1983 to 2022. And so we're just going to zoom into the headwaters. Ghost River watershed is in white, and the Red Deer River watershed is in red. And apart from seeing them all on CPAW's map, here you can see the progression and how this, in many ways, was very green and intact and might have had some historical logging in it, but not this large-scale mechanized clear cutting that we've really started to experience in the last 40 years. Just on the left here, you can see a forest fire scar. That was backcountry campers' fire that got out of control, and with the prevailing winds blew out of the Yaha Tinda, which is just north of there, through this gap and blew west. And that was 2005. I think Dog Rib Fire is the name of that fire. And more specific to the Bow headwaters is the Ghost watershed here. And I'll just let this play out, and then we'll move a bit further south. I'll switch back to this logging plan viewer so we can zoom into the Ghost and see these large clear cuts that were complete in 2023. This is 2024. And then you can see in yellow here what's planned for 2026, 2027. And then around Wypress, it's not even on here because it's outside of the FMA, but West Fraser's also getting a ton of wood under this hazardous fuels reduction program, which is stated intent is to reduce wildfire risk around communities, and that's not showing up on the map, but we did learn about that at the open house. So another contentious and just impactful area. This is the Moose Mountain, Bragg Creek, West Bragg Creek area. It's been very controversial because this is a high recreation area for people from the city of Calgary. So this West Bragg Creek area has had historical clear cutting, but let's go look on CPAWS's logging plan viewer and just see how much more is planned. So here's West Bragg Creek, or at least the parking lot of the trail system that many of us have parked at and gone cross-country skiing or mountain biking. And they have extensive clear cutting planned for West Bragg Creek. Again, red is in 2027, 2028, and yellow is this upcoming winter. They don't do much clear cutting in the spring, summer, and fall due to the ground not being frozen. But there will be some activities. And just up here in the Jumping Pound Civil Flats, you can see this extensive amount of clear cutting. And I believe there's more to come. I remember seeing a lot at the open house. So CPAWS is doing their best to keep this updated. But yeah, I know we got to keep going because I want to keep this video short. But here's that West Bragg Creek parking lot right there. And you can already see the extensive amount of clear cutting. And we'll just go a little further down into McLean Creek. McLean Creek already has extensive pressures from free-for-all off-highway vehicle use of 4x4s, ATVs, and dirt bikes. I follow some of the trail groups on social media, and they have expressed dismay at the extensive clear cutting that happened this past winter. If we go down into McLean Creek area, which is around here, keep going with our tour. So here's the headwaters of the Sheep River. This is 3 Point Creek. Yeah, and you can just see back in here, watch the forest just disappear. Wild. Thankfully, we have Blue Rock Wildland Provincial Park, which is keeping a lot of the clear cutting out of this area. Diamond Valley and Okotoks and the Sheep River in general have very low flow pressures, which is why we're grateful for this Wildland Provincial Park. But we no doubt West Fraser will be coming for this area. There hasn't been a lot of recent historical clear cutting in, this is the Highwood River. We can zoom in here to this nice, beautiful green patch. Maybe that's what you would call a logger's dream. And this, large clear cut that happened in 2017. And up here, this is Loomis Creek, and this beautiful valley here is slated for clear cut. We'll just quickly go look at it on the logging plan viewer here. So this is the Blue Rock Wildland Provincial Park, and now we're down here in the Highwood. So we can see that one clear cut that happened in 2017 here. 2018 is what it lists as here. And then here's the planned clear cut for the Highwood and Loomis Creek. They've split it up into 2 years, so this winter they are planning on clear cutting the lower part down by the river. And I'll try to put in a picture here. We'll use Google Earth to go look. I hosted many tours where we basically stood right here and looked up the valley, and you could see these two mountains with the valley in the middle, and I explained how the whole side of that mountain would be clear cut, and this one, and here this really puts it in perspective. I'll just point out here that there was some historical logging done without feller bunchers and without the same heavy equipment. This would have involved humans going out, but this is from the ABMI Human Footprint Project, and it lists these as 1960. These probably happened pre-1960, and I'll show you what they look like on Google Earth now. But if this is true, this would be one of the first places that is going to be second harvest of a forest in Southern Alberta. I know that there's an area here right by Lynham that was also logged and replanted, but also forest fire was impacted, and I don't see it listed here on the map. So there are some discrepancies with the logging plan viewer. We get higher resolution when we go out of the time lapse, and I'll just zoom in here. So this is Loomis Creek right here. And so I think there's some inaccuracies with the ABMI human footprint data, because this looks to be primary intact forest with no disturbance. But if we just go over on the other side of this ridge to this is Oldman Creek and Mount Oldlam, you can see here these strange lines, and this is leftover disturbance from historical pre-1960 logging and then replanting, I believe, even though I don't believe replanting was a thing. So this might be naturally regenerated forest. Just point out the fall colors on this ridge, just highlighting some of the beauty of this area. And I'll just manipulate the map to show just to situate ourselves. So this is the Lynham Creek day use area, and the Highwood Bridge was installed right here. This is this historical logging road that was used in the pre-1960s time. And this satellite imagery is even updated. You can see the bridge lying here on the ground. The bridge has been removed from when it was illegally installed. But here you can just see how essential, like, there's wetlands in this area. This is critical bull trout spawning habitat. Let's just even go up and look at some of it here in Loomis Creek. This is what CPAW's identified as Beaver Valley. This is prime bull trout spawning habitat. Very hydrologically important for a variety of reasons. These forests capture snow and rain and filter it and slowly release it throughout the year, so it comes out clean and cool. If this valley gets logged, there would be so much sediment ending up in the river from fast water running off. And so this is where we stood and did many kind of talking tours. And so basically this whole side of the mountain here will be logged, this massive area right here, and then all up the valley, massive clear cut. This would be one of West Fraser's biggest clear cuts to date, and it must not go ahead. So I'll just reset us to north here, and we'll just finish off our tour down south in the Oldman River. So here you can see some of the, without the time lapse, you can see the denuded landscape. Yes, some of this is growing back. So this is the Dutch Creek headwaters here, where there's been lots of historical logging. You can see some of the lines. It's different impacts than back in the 60s, but I'm going to turn on the time lapse to this area and we'll just see what this looked like. So this area, like I said, was logged pre-1980 quite extensively, and they even went back and took out all the patches around. I'd like to go up here and look at what this looks like. And this just highlights how, yes, we need some timber. We need, there's ability to do forest harvesting activities in certain areas, but there is a point where it becomes too much pressure on the landscape. And we could argue that is what's happening in the headwaters of the Oldman. The Oldman River headwaters are very important for agriculture and also just high risk due to the low amount of actual forested area. So what we were just looking at here is this area that basically, you could say that has been 90% logged except for the peaks and some of these steeper terrains. This is relatively flat area, which was why it was likely targeted. Yeah, there is very little area, and they are now, if we just look down, this is under the guise of that hazardous fuels reduction program. Massive clear cuts. This is Dead Man's Pass, where there likely was some logging related to coal mining back in the early 1900s, but this is a very diverse forest with multiple unique species to Alberta. There's ponderosa pines and western red cedars in this area that we don't see in basically any other places in Alberta. And so just to finish off this tour, I'll go back here. I just want to show you a couple areas. So this is logging related to private land and grazing. Cattle grazers love clear cuts because it's basically setting the ecosystem back from a forest to a grassland. And when you get cows in there, multiple effects on the water and the landscape. But you can just see the scale of these clear cuts growing on the landscape. So this lines in blue are tributaries to the Crow's Nest River flowing south, and the lines in yellow are tributaries to the Oldman flowing through the gap in the Livingston and out into the Waldron and Bob Creek wildlands. These are very important ecosystems for elk and grizzly bears and numerous other animals. And you can just see how there was a lot of intact forest. We see some well pads for oil and gas development. I'll just show you Cabin Ridge quickly. This is not related to forestry, but this is exploration when the government removed the moratorium on coal exploration in 2020. Coal companies quickly went in and built massive roads and well pads to drill and test for coal in these mountains. And there's numerous examples of further degradation And it's not just forestry alone. It's not just oil and gas. You can see some well pads owned by CNRL here. And then over here, there's another exploration program that happened in early 2020s. There, extensive road networks. And this cumulative effects of all of these things on the landscape is really what starts to affect our watersheds. The function of the forests and the holding and slowing and sinking water into the ground and into the groundwater. The function really gets disrupted when we are building roads and doing linear as well as large-scale disturbances like clearcuts. We are calling for a moratorium on clearcutting in the eastern slopes until we can develop cumulative effects frameworks and ecosystem-based watershed management frameworks that protect the ecosystem health of the aquatic environment as well as the wildlife. These are key areas for water, wildlife, and wilderness that need to be protected. So I hope that tour wasn't too long. I didn't even get to talking about the Porcupine Hills and how unique they are and how there's extensive forestry happening there by Spray Lakes and West Fraser in the past. But I hope this is a video that you can share with your friends and family and help show them why we need to protect and restore the eastern slopes of Southern Alberta. So thank you and have a good day.